Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Chrissy Smith. This is Nine Lives Energy, and together we energize your body from the inside out. Thank you so much for joining me for this 12-part series called Astro Health, where we deep dive into each zodiac sign and talk about the best astrological remedies for that particular constellation. And this week we are discussing Gemini. I love Gemini. Very fast moving energy, very fun. They're very much a socialite. And I have a lot of Gemini placements in my chart. So I found this research that I did to be quite beneficial. And this video goes out to my friend Jess. And she has a lot of Gemini in her chart. So I hope you get something out of this video. And then also to my friend Moses, who is watching this, I also hope you get something out of this as well. All right. If I missed any Geminis, I'm sorry. I apologize. I think Melissa is another one, and she started on her spiritual journey before I did. So let's get into it. All right, so Gemini is a mutable sign, meaning that it can go one or two ways, right? So we have cardinal, which starts the season. We have fixed, which is the height of that season. And then we have mutable, which can go either way. So Gemini, it is right here in between Taurus and also Cancer. So sometimes with Gemini, we can the goal is to try to be more like the sign ahead of us, right? And so for an Aries, this person would try to be more like a Taurus, and a Taurus would try to be more like a Gemini, and a Gemini would try to be more like a Cancer. But sometimes when we're on that mutable, we can be more one way or like the other. So for example, communication, if that is what Gemini controls, and Taurus is a fixed energy. If we try to be too much like a Taurus, we could be maybe fixed in how we communicate and fixed in staying in the mind and not speaking freely, right? And about our emotions. So that would be something to consider. All right, so it is governed by the third house. So if we go around this wheel, you will see that each zodiac sign represents a different number and a different planet and a different theme. So Mercury, all right, is governed by Gemini, but it also is governed by Virgo, and it's exalted in the sign of Virgo. Now, when we look at the opposite sign, right, because opposites attract, if we are having a little bit of a struggle, it's important to kind of know what is across the street from us, because we can kind of work with that energy. Right now in the sky, I'm filming this in January of 2025. We have a mutual reception between Jupiter and Mercury, which means that Jupiter, the planet, is in the constellation of Gemini, and Mercury is in the constellation of Sagittarius. So they are not in their most favorite place to be. And so that's what they are considered a mutual reception. However, Mercury is the way that we communicate, and it's fast energy, right? And so it really doesn't have a bad placement. Same thing with Jupiter. It really doesn't have a bad placement either. It's just, it's kind of its opposite sign. Now, if we look at, Mercury is also governed by Virgo. If we look at the opposite sign of this, it could be Pisces. So you could have, Mercury in the 12th house or in the sign of Pisces. If you are a Pisces, usually wherever the sun goes, Mercury is going to be that close to it. Okay. So that Mercury moves either ahead or around or behind the sun. So somebody that is a Gemini, they could communicate like a Cancer, or they could communicate like a Gemini, or they could communicate like a Taurus. Okay. So with that being said, anytime Mercury goes into retrograde, you guys need to be paying attention, right? Because that's your chart ruler. So these people are probably going to be more prone to having issues related to cars, because that controls community and local travel. You could be having issues around social media or gadgets, technology, and quick moving energy, or even learning new things and things around the community. So Mercury controls a whole lot. So again, where Mercury goes, Gemini, you need to be paying attention, because that is your chart ruler. Now, if we go around this zodiac sign again, you will see that that would equal 15. And if we go around the sign again, that would be 27. So those are your degree numbers. So if you see the number 333, or maybe you purchase something at the store and it's 1515, all right, pay attention to your thoughts. Are you having positive thoughts, or are you having adverse thoughts? Because whatever you're thinking about at that time, that is your energy kind of giving you a message. Hey, let's change our thoughts and let's turn them into where we want to be instead of what's actually going on right now. Now, it is represented by the twins, so it's everything doubled, right? So somebody could have a personality, which we'll talk about this in a minute, that could be doubled. Maybe the person that they are on the inside is different than the person that they are to the outside world, or maybe they show a different part of themselves to one person and another person to somebody else, okay? All right, moving along. The dates for Gemini is May 21st through June 20th, and this is the constellation in the sky, so it looks like the twins right there. Okay, and it's ruled by Mercury, which we talked about a minute ago. So wherever Mercury goes, you need to go. It also controls the mind. It's quick information and communication, quick energy. These people can learn things very fast, but they might have a tendency to want to learn so many things, okay, that they don't really try to focus on one thing. And we'll talk about this in a minute. As we talked about a minute ago, Mercury is in detriment, but it's not really in a bad place. It just, you know, it may not like to be there as much as it does in its own sign, okay? Because if it does control communication, we can't say, well, every Sagittarius doesn't communicate well and every Pisces doesn't communicate well. It doesn't go like that. And Mercury, it's in fall position, as we talked about, which is the opposite sign of Virgo, and that is a mutable water sign. So a lot of these signs that Mercury is in a different position in, whether it's fall or detriment, is going to be also a mutable sign, which means it can go either way, right? We talked about how it's exalted in Virgo, because not only can we take all this knowledge that we know, but we can actually put it into a good routine, especially around our health. So Virgos are going to be highlighted for the next year and a half. So make sure that you are paying attention also, Geminis, because that is the chart ruler of Virgo as well as Mercury. So it could be a good year for you to kind of look at your routines and see what we can implement in the form of health habits or in the way we communicate with our mind. Now, I have my Jupiter in, I put detriment in Cancer. I meant to put detriment in Gemini. My apologies there. So Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini. All right. So I have my Jupiter in Gemini, but that's not a bad thing. It could mean that, you know, these people probably like to learn a lot of information at one time, or maybe they have a lot of friends in the community, or people know them everywhere they go, right? In the short, you know, community area that they have, and they probably have a lot of different friends. But something that probably, if it controls communication, Gemini, if you have Jupiter there and it expands it, that person could talk a lot or that person could talk really fast. So I'm raising my hand slowly. I'm just showing you some different ways that we could look at some of these expressions in our chart. All right. So this is the stages of a Gemini. Right. So when the Gemini is born as the twin, but it's trying to figure out who it wants to be. Right. So they love adventure. They love quick moving energy. Right. They don't really like to slow down fast enough and want to be in one spot. And this could cause them to kind of be unfulfilled because they keep searching for something. Right. And so this takes them to the next stage of their life, which is the ship. They're on their journey, on the ship journey. And then this could show that how you have perceived the world or the experiences around you have changed, okay? And how you view the world because of that changes. And so there could be a sense of release there, some sadness and some disappointing experiences, because what you have known to be true really is not true, or it just doesn't resonate with you anymore. Okay. And you want to be able to find that community, right? A sense of belonging. And so if you've been not staying in one place too long, it's going to be hard for you to kind of establish those roots to get that community. So this is what you're looking for here. Okay. But in giving up the things that no longer serve you anymore, this can cause you to start doing inner reflection and just stepping out on faith and trusting that, you know, what you can't see is still happening in the background, because Virgo and Geminis, they have to see it. All right. It has to be concrete, and seeing is believing to them. And it's hard for them just to go out on faith because they need to see the details. They need to see it in writing. Okay. And so it's hard for them to just step out on faith and know that everything is going to be okay when they're living from their true heart's purpose. And then the last one, as this Gemini has evolved in its life, is the stars. And so it's letting go of your initial plans of what you thought this experience was going to be. And you have learned that a lot of these adverse experiences that you've had in your life have actually caused you to develop lots of wisdom. What is the best teacher? Experience. Okay. And so you like to learn by experiences, not just from reading and things that do with the mind. Okay. But you are learning from the experiences because that gives you wisdom that you can share with others. During this time, you have released any illusions that maybe have caused you to have certain experiences, and realize that maybe some of the things that you told yourself were the reasons that you didn't have the experiences that everybody else did. Okay. So before the introduction of Western medicine, we had iotrope mathematics, and that was used by doctors in order to kind of diagnose a person or see where they would have some health related issues so that they could treat that patient the best. It does control the nervous system. So if we think about Gemini, it is the mind, okay? And what is the brain and the nervous system, right? And so these people, highly intelligent, probably could be prone to anxiety or ADHD because they got to be doing something constantly all the time, right? And they may not be able to sit long enough to focus on what it is that they need to do. These people probably fidget a lot. It controls the hands, the arms, the fingers, or they possibly could have shoulder issues. All right. I have a lot of Gemini placements in my chart. So I had a frozen shoulder not that long ago. And so astrology is true, folks. It does show in the person's health and where they need to be focusing more of their energy so that they can become more into balance. It also controls the lungs and the vocal cords. So breathing exercises, we can see that part of the rib up here at the upper part of the lungs. That is probably where they could possibly have some health challenges, maybe some knots around underneath the shoulder blade or arm pain in that area. Also, it controls communication. How are you treating your vocal cords? Are you drinking lots of water in order to kind of keep that nice and moist so we don't get dried out? Are we smoking cigarettes, you know? Are we doing things that are stimulating to our mind? Or are we doing things that kind of just numb out our mind? So in medical astrology, some of these people are going to be vulnerable toward carpal tunnel because it controls the hands. They could have accidents related to the hands, scapula, the arms. I've had a few injuries to my shoulder blades and the upper back, and the heart chakra is also Leo. So if you have Leo placements in your chart, you could also have some issues around that area. And if you have both, then you're definitely going to have some issues around that area. These people probably could be prone to pneumonia and bronchitis and asthma, any type of lungs disease, because Gemini controls the lungs. It controls communication. We need that breath, right, in order to be able to speak. You could suffer from neurological issues, meaning that maybe there might be some nerve damage if you've had an accident on how the brain communicates with the nerve to get that muscle to fire the way it should. Because Mercury controls the mind, these people could be sensitive to having mental issues, speech impairments, because it could, it controls our way of speaking, learning disorders, stuttering, These people could be very hyperactive and they have to have a project to work on, or else they get bored and could possibly self-sabotage. These people are vulnerable to burnout because they like to go, 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 but they need to learn how to rest and relax their mind, because they could be prone to ADHD, ADD, anxiety, being nervous. You might see Virgos also being nervous like that, because Gemini controls Virgo as well. And any issues around sisters, brothers, and cousins, even though that's not health related, it is health related, because it is our emotional connection to the family, to our community, to having a sense of belonging. So these types of relationships could have challenges, or they could be very highlighted and beneficial in your life, or even around in the community, and how you can be of service to the community. Some astrological remedies for Gemini is commit to new things and finish in the project. If you are too busy, well, I'm over here and then I get distracted by this over here. Okay, that's going to cause you not to finish the project, because you see the next new shiny thing. But try to find short projects. Okay, for example, 3 months. Set a goal for 3 months. Where are you going to be in 3 months? That's 3, all right, is your magic number, and that's seasonal. And so you could try to find something every 3 months that, you know, would try to help you where you are mentally or emotionally, or what you're interested in that time, in order to achieve. So instead of finding this big, long, you know, dream, what can I do 3 months? Maybe you do have a big, long dream, but what can you do 3 months, so that you can have that short term, I guess, pat on the back, because you have accomplished something, right? If Gemini controls communication, all forms of communication, writing, journaling, reading, talking, or doing talk therapy, or being a, maybe as you've evolved as a Gemini, you're a talk therapist. People, maybe a talk show host, maybe you have your own YouTube channel and you do talk therapy on there, or a life coach. Creating social media content, not consuming. It's easy for us to get on there and keep scrolling, but how are you creating with your fun Gemini energy, instead of consuming and not using your mind in the most creative way? Breath work, mindful practices. I know what it's like, Gemini, to have that restless energy and you can't sit still. I cannot meditate and just sit there. It is very hard for me. So I have to be working around the house and have a project, or I clean my house, or I clean my car, or I do something outside in the yard. Try to find something that you can do while thinking. Okay, that would be great for you to do, or while breathing. Upper back issues, rib cage, shoulder flexibility practices. These people could be more vulnerable to frozen shoulders. So it's important for them to make sure that that they have good mobility in the shoulders, so that they don't get rigid and inflexible. Being practical. Gemini controls common sense. Okay. What is the thing that you can do right now that is the most practical for you to get to your said goal? And if you're over here trying to think, well, I don't have this and I don't have this, that's coming from a place of lack that you don't have. But think about, what do I have right now that I can be working on so that I can make it to the next step? Okay, so practicality. If somebody comes into the room and you're like, I need to clean up, what is the first thing that you need to clean up in that space? Is it going to be a drawer that nobody sees, or is it going to be this big pile of clothes on the floor that you need to go through, right? Being busy, right? These people like to be active. It helps them feel accomplished, and doing things that allow you to participate in your gifts and talents, not just trying to be supportive of other people. Doing games and puzzles, anything to sharpen the mind, not consuming, again, creating, and doing exercises to increase reflexes. So what I mean by that is things that, like moving your eyes like this, like eye exercises would be good for you. Hand-eye coordination things, maybe doing some type of movement, you know, where you're having to do something with the right side and do the same thing on the left side, and you're causing your brain to work differently, especially if you're right-handed and you always lead with your right hand. How would it look if you did leading, how would you look, or how would you practice leading with your left side? That could be very beneficial to you, Geminis. All right, so best physical activities, fast moving sports, because Gemini moves fast. It's quick energy, right? So when Mercury is in retrograde and it's not quick energy, it's going backwards. Like I said, it could, cause Geminis to not get in a good place, especially mentally. Or maybe they might have some issues going on with the shoulder or the rib cage, right? Because that's what it controls. So making sure that you're kind of paying attention to where Mercury goes. Creating choreography or dancing. These people are highly intelligent, and that would be a good way to release some of that energy is by creating something. Movement and breath work. Like I said, I try to do projects, and as I'm doing the project, I'm meditating, right? Or as I'm moving with yoga, I'm breathing through it. I'm not holding my breath. I have a tendency to hold my breath. And so I need to be doing some of these practices that I'm telling you, Gemini. Active meditation, we talked about what that is a minute ago. Gymnastics, those people usually are long and lean, like Virgo and Gemini. So this will be good for you to kind of move that energy around, just like a gymnast would. Anything dealing with the arms, like rowing, any type of sports like that, strategy sports, using the mind, or creating drills or skill type of movement patterns in order to perform that particular sport better would be good. And anything that increases the reflexology, that hand-eye coordination, right, would be good. Playing the drums, that would be excellent activity for Geminis. Lavender is probably one of the best essential oils. I have some over here right now. And if you have one essential oil, get lavender, because it can do so many different things. But if you don't resonate with that, my stepmom doesn't, and she's a Virgo, there's other oils that you can use. So jasmine helps with stress and tension. Bergamot helps uplift the mood and balance the mood. Basil improves concentration, especially if we can have our flighty cells where we're focusing on one thing and then all of a sudden we start focusing on something else, and then we have like 10 projects that are haven't been done yet. Okay, that can help us with that. Lemongrass could also help because it helps with mental fatigue. It helps with learning information and being able to retain it. Some crystals that you guys would benefit from. Pearl is your birthstone. Fluorite helps with mental clarity and clear communication. I'm going to bring this in to show you guys. So this is fluorite right here, and it's purple and green. I actually got this at a nightclub, a crystal dealer that was there. So of course, I'm going to support my community and buy all kinds of stuff. She had great jewelry, by the way. And then this is blue howlite. It's actually a white stone that has like these black little lines in it. And I like this a lot because if blue howlite helps with communication, having something like this around your throat definitely would help you in being able to communicate better. So this is howlite right here. And again, I had mine just dyed blue because I liked it. And agate moss, this is one for new beginnings and enhances creativity. It looks like this. It's kind of like a green color, dark green and light green together, like moss. Howlite, we talked about, is right here. It helps with communication. I speak real fast. I try to not, but we all have our things we need to be working on. So it definitely helps me with that. Serpentine releases toxins and harmful patterns. So if you see this right here, this kind of even looks like a snake, kind of like a serpent. And so that would be good to kind of help you through some difficult times if you're trying to make changes, such as maybe quitting smoking, all right, or creating a new habit in the morning, for instance, like creating content instead of consuming content. And here's another picture of fluorite right here. And then tiger's eye is this last one here and could help in direction, especially during that second phase of a Gemini's life when they are searching for their purpose. Foods for energy, we need to make sure that we're choosing foods that are going to be good for the lungs, good for decreasing our anxiety, and things that are going to be promoting a sharpened reflex. And so some foods that help with that is broccoli. Look at what broccoli looks like. It looks like the lungs. Cauliflower looks like the lungs. So I'm a firm believer of, if the food looks like part of your body, it probably is going to help you in that area. Green leafy vegetables, tomatoes and beets. Tomatoes and beets would be good for lungs and anxiety and reflex sharpening. Berries, apples, citrus are good for the lungs, and bananas helps with those reflexes because it helps with muscle contraction. Bananas do. Good fats are almonds, flax seeds, definitely walnuts. Walnuts look like a brain. And eggs and avocados. Those would be good fats for the brain. Your brain is nothing but big fat, like of cholesterol, right? And so we need to make sure we're eating things that are going to help promote that type of compounds that those foods have in order to help your brain function better. Good things that you can add is turmeric, tea with honey, garlic, ginger, cayenne pepper, and apple cider vinegar. I love apple cider vinegar shots. You can even make a dressing with that to put on your salad. Would be good for you. You don't need to have things that are going to stimulate you. All right. That can possibly be the worst thing for your anxiety. Doing things with like tea would be a whole lot better for you in the morning instead of coffee. Not only because, we're putting other chemicals and things like in the coffee, but it could cause us to have more jitteriness, especially, if we have certain placements in our chart that could cause us to be adverse in our Gemini, like ADHD or ADD, not being able to concentrate. That coffee could cause overstimulation. So we want to avoid the stimulants and alcohol. So sometimes Geminis, if we get to being too hyper, we might try to choose something that would calm us down. So something that is a depressant is alcohol. So I'm not saying don't drink it, just put it in check, right? I usually drink tea. I like this hot tea that I have in the morning and at night. But the one in the morning has turmeric in it and has ginger. And I feel like cayenne pepper because it had clove because it has a little sharpness to it. So that's really good for the voice, and it helps you to be able to communicate better than drinking coffee that probably has lactose products in it that could cause mucus buildup and the Gemini won't be able to communicate as effectively as he or she can. Now I have a detox recipe down here at the bottom. Now for me, I would just throw some things in there because I don't like to measure. So do what is best for you, or maybe part it out to where you have a big gallon jug and you put it in the refrigerator and you put, maybe 5 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, or maybe you put, a cup, who knows? And then try to measure out how much ginger and cinnamon and a dash of cayenne. I would try this recipe first. That way you're not wasting so much of the product. And because for me, 1 teaspoon of honey isn't enough. I'm going to use a tablespoon. So again, you want to make that detox recipe to your standards, but try it in that and then kind of measure it to say, okay, well, I need a little bit of this. I need a little less of this. And that would be really good to help with your throat and also help with immunity, especially around the wintertime, because we can tend to get sick, being inside all the time. All right. So this is a celebrity that was a Gemini, John F. Kennedy. And according to the internet, he was born on May 29th, 1917 at 1500 hours. So the sun is represented by this little red dot right here. So he also spoke like a Taurus. So we see where Gemini is, right? I mean, we see where Mercury is. So he spoke like a Taurus, probably very slow, right? Very earthly. He was probably very good looking, all right? Good looking man. Not only did he have Jupiter there that was given blessings to his values and appearance, but he's also got Mars there. So he's got 3 placements there in Taurus. But let's go back to this sun here. So he is in the 8th house of transformation. So in his life experience here, he was supposed to transform. So maybe he was supposed to transform the collective. Maybe he was supposed to transform himself. You see up here at the top, he has Saturn at the top of his chart. So he definitely, if Cancer is the zodiac sign of America, right? Because we all have birth charts. July 4th, 1776 is a Cancer sign. And then Saturn is our government and our structures of life. And 10 is the 10th house of career. All right. He was a good leader for the United States. That was his career. All right. And Leo right here is being in the spotlight, being in entertainment. So he probably was one of the first politicians that, you know, had sort of an entertainment flair around that position as the president, because he seemed to be loved around the world. And yeah, that's JFK. So another Gemini. All right, so if you got something out of this, Gemini, make sure that you like, share, comment. My tip jar is below if you are in the United States for Venmo and Cash App. If you comment on it and share it, it does help the information get out there to those that need it most. So if you have a Gemini in your life, or if you are a Gemini, help the channel to grow if you found this intriguing or helpful to you. We got one more zodiac sign left. We got Taurus, which is next week. I can't believe it's been 12 months. And I'm so excited about this because they say that if you want to do something, just do it. Right. If you want to be an astrologer, just step out and do it. And so that's exactly what I did. And it's scary. And I've seen this little project of mine evolve. It doesn't look like it did when I first started this project. And that's all that I had meant to do, was to, you know, challenge myself, step out there of my comfort zone, do something different. Astrology has helped me so much, and be able to look at parts of myself that I didn't know existed, and being able to change those, you know, and to become a better version of myself. And so if that is something that is of interest to you, or maybe you're kind of stuck, or maybe you're wanting to look at some of these energies going around, right? We got Jupiter in your sign until the middle of this year. So how has this astrological transit been able to affect you? If Jupiter is the planet of luck and abundance and expansion, right? How has that benefited you, right? Because this transit happens every 12 years, and we don't want to miss all the blessings that we are supposed to be having at this time. All right, everybody, my name is Chrissy Smith. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to 9 Lives Energy, because every time you do, another person gets healthier. Check me out next week for Taurus. Bye-bye, everybody.